Corruption is worse than prostitution. The latter might endanger the morals of an individual. The former invariably endangers the morals of the entire country. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation, Monday at 9:30 p.m. right here on TV1. Nice to have you on board as usual. Our topic of discussion today is the state of affairs in the country. Corruption, has it really been eradicated? Where is the country heading? Tax, 15% VAT has been imposed now on the public, and now it seems that the people are really feeling the burden of the cost of living as well. What is the government doing? Do they have a plan? Do they have a vision for this island nation? Let's discuss and see where we are moving forward as a nation. Joining us this evening are four individuals. Let's introduce them to you. Mr. Harshan Rajakaruna, United National Party parliamentarian. A very good evening and nice to have you on board, Mr. Rajakaruna.
Good evening.
Also joining us this evening is Mr. Kirthanakone, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Joining us this evening is also Mr. Vidura Vikramnayaka, United People's Freedom Alliance parliamentarian. Nice to have you on board as well, Mr. Vikramnayaka. Also joining us this evening is Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva, former Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. Nice to have you on board as well, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamaheva. Let's start off with Mr. Kirthanakone, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Mr. Thanakone, where is the country standing today in terms of corruption, in terms of state of affairs in the country? Are you satisfied the way in which the country is moving now? Your time starts now.
Definitely not. We have seen that the President has gone to the London summit and he made a brilliant speech down there. And but when it comes to the practice inside Sri Lanka, in this island nation, as you said, we haven't seen much has delivered on eradication of the bribery and corruption. When it comes to the last presidential election, I think the most concerned factor in that election was bribery and corruption. It was very much highlighted throughout the election campaign and thereafter. And as I was very closely working with the anti-corruption front at that particular time, we have seen that people's enthusiasm and engagement with to work a corruption-free country. There were thousands of complaints came on just after the presidential election, and anti-corruption front alone has logged more than 512 complaints in related to the bribery and corruption issues. Most of them are very major bribery and corruption issues, but so far we haven't seen anything is delivered. There are some investigations going on. There are some files, some investigations has come to the final stages and it has gone to the Attorney General's department, but so far we haven't seen a very progressive, or we haven't seen very effective way of dealing things has taken place. For example, we have seen almost 38 files now is with the Attorney General's department for last 3 months, and it has not gone to the stage 2 level. And when we are talking about eradication of the bribery and corruption, it is very important that the Sri Lankan judicial system is capable and in the same time addressing the issue of the bribery and corruption in an effective way, or in the other hand in a very professional way. We have seen that hundreds of complaints were logged, and some of these complaints were investigated by 6 entities, 6 government bodies who was working on bribery and corruption issues. But when it comes to the professionalism or the effectiveness of this fight has not seen on practical terms.
What are you all campaigning for right now, Mr. Thanakone? We saw the manner in which how you all campaigned prior to the 8th of January polls in 2015, saying that there needs a change of government. And now we have a change of government. We have President Maithripala Sirisena as the president. We have Ranil Wickremesinghe as the opposition leader. What do you all want?
I think it is not the change of government the people of the country needed. It is a change of policy. It's a change of policy the people looked for. The people looked for a corruption-free country, addressing the issue of bribery and corruption in a very big scale. And that is the exact thing which is not happening at the moment.
Thank you very much. That, of course, was the Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election, Mr. Kirthendakon. I now move on to Dr. Pratibha Mahanameheva, a former Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. He's also an attorney at law. Dr. Mahanameheva, Mr. Thendakon said that what is needed is a change of policy. What do you think? Do you think the government is not doing enough in terms of eradicating corruption in the country?
My opinion, after analyzing few years, people take corruption as a political slogan. It's only a political slogan. Now, in the election manifestos, in the studios, before the election, what they said, immediately, as soon as possible, anyone who has done a fraud, misappropriation of public money, should take action. So I mean, general public also very attractive for these type of slogans. When it's come to a reality, you must explain the laws also. Sibok. Now, whatever the vision, when it comes to mission, big caps are there. To take power, you can say, mega projects, these things had happened. But you need evidence. In the political platform, these things were never said. To file a case, as Mr. Kirthendakon said, 38 files lying in Attorney General Department. They never said like that. There is corruption, but to catch these people, to punish these people, take a long time. That is the issue. So, countries like Sri Lanka, not only Sri Lanka, other countries, what they take to attract people, to get more votes. This has become a famous political slogan.
Dr. Mahanameheva, you're a lawyer by profession, and you know that taking an individual to court or taking an individual or holding someone accountable is not easy. It takes time. So in the defense of the UNP government, you could say that they are making an effort, quite slow and steady. Is that something that you can buy?
Totally agree. But has this communicated to general public? Has this communicated to general public? By the speakers? How many attorney at laws were there? That's the issue.
Let's say they...
Now only they say. My argument, be honest, with integrity, do anything. Don't hide anything. No secrecy. They could have explained that. Failure to explain, now the people are also suffering. So these are some of the issues. Honesty and integrity. That's my main argument. Not to take this corruption as a political slogan.
Is there an opposition in Parliament, Dr. Mahanameheva? What is your thought on this?
A lot of oppositions are there.
Are they doing their job?
In a national government, I have seen. Now, who is the real opposition? Now, joint opposition also there. TNA also there. JVP also there. So, they all take it as a combined opposition. Is it happening? So, opposition, most of the time, whether this joint opposition recognized and accepted by Honorable Speaker, those are some of the issues. Whether opposition, TNA doing their job well. How many incidents very recently happened? Whether they were taken to Parliament discussion. Lot of issues were there. So they also have a target. They go with that target rather than doing the whole country. They look their community.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha Mahanameheva, former Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission, also attorney at law. I now move on to Harshan Rajkaran, a National Party parliamentarian. Nice to have you on board, Mr. Rajkaran, representing the government at this discussion today. Are you trying to protect any culprits? Mr. Tendekon said 38 cases, no action taken. Dr. Mahanam said that a public slogan, a lot of accusations leveled at the government. Are you all really doing enough? Or are you all acting at all at this point of time? Your time starts now.
I personally think we need to compare all this from where we have come from. It was a country before January 8th, 2015, where the whole country was governed by one family. The corruption that was taking place then, whether it has stopped now, definitely yes. Whether we have been able to catch all the thieves, no, we haven't. And I personally think that there's a lot more to be done, but we have been able to have quite a positive progress. Whether the bribery commission was working at that time, no, I don't think so. Whether the Attorney General's department was actually working at the Rajapaksa regime time, no, it was not. So we had a huge task. We had to redo the whole institutions first. So that was not a easy thing, because as you know, even at the Attorney General's department, though there were so many cases, it wasn't, there was no progress. Even in the bribery commission, it was the same thing. So we had to we had to completely change those institutions, even the people in it, and give them more resources. So it has come to a certain level, but yes, we have a lot more to do, and I believe that it will happen step by step. We can't expect within a year to get everything, because actually I think a lot of people have a lot of expectation, very high expectation, and there's a delay which is not because we don't want to, or we don't want to bring out the truth, or whether we want to hide and keep some of that was robbed. It's purely because of the bureaucracy.
Are you trying to protect anyone?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
However, you just pointed the finger at the former president, saying that one family was running the country.
Absolutely.
I'm assuming that you mentioned and referred to the former president, Mahinda Rajapaksa.
The Rajapaksa regime, yes.
However, your government pays 425,000 for the trip that the official visit, or you could call it a trip, by the former president to Uganda.
Yes, we just.
What was the thinking behind that?
We just had our group meeting at the Temple Trees today, and that was also mentioned by the Prime Minister. And
what was the thinking?
And we did question what was the reason, and apparently the reason will be out soon. So we have.
No one is aware why the Prime Minister nor the Foreign Minister decided to spend 425,000 of the public taxpayers' money.
Nor do I know about that. Yes.
Also, before we move on to Mr. Vidura Wickramalayaka, there was a gimmick in Parliament recently saying that the former president's military was removed. Am I right, Mr. Rajkaran? You were in Parliament.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
The former president's military security was removed?
Yes.
However, the president was accompanied by 4 individuals, a colonel, a major, and 2 individuals of the military to Uganda. Was that a public...
You mean former
president
yes.
was accompanied by a colonel, a major, and 2 other soldiers to Uganda. Isn't that military security, or have their ranks been demoted? Just a question before we move on to Mr. Viduru Vikramanayake.
According to what the opposition is stating,
This was not made by the opposition. This was from the airport staff that
no, I'm talking about taking off the military security. The army personnel were taken off.
It was not taken off as suggested by the government.
No, what the government say, what the government stand was to provide security by the police and also the STF. So the information that we have got is that not the number of the personnel have reduced or anything like that, just that the army personnel were taken off and given the police security. That was done not only to the former president but also to the incumbent.
Mr. Rajkaran, my question is, however, despite the claim that you're making right now, a colonel, a major and 2 soldiers accompanied the president to Uganda. Isn't that military security?
That is definitely military security.
Right, thank you very much Harshan Rajkaran, a National Party parliamentarian, for your thoughts. And now move on to Mr. Viduru Vikramanayake. Mr. Vikramanayake, before we proceed with the discussion, I want to know which side are you on? Are you a part of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, a part of the joint opposition, or part of the United People's Freedom Alliance? Which party do you represent right now? There is a certain amount of confusion. To get some clarity on this.
All of the
above.
And especially people.
Who is your leader?
The people. I represent the people. I stand by them.
So if your leader is your leader President Maithripala Sirisena?
Theoretically,
yes. From the joint opposition?
Theoretically, yes.
Theoretically, he's the leader. Dr. Pradeep Mahaname has said that the opposition is not doing their job. Now, you said you are part of the joint opposition. You said you are part of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. So this finger is pointed directly at you. Are you not doing your job in Parliament, Mr. Vikramanayake?
I didn't hear that he was saying anything to that effect.
He said
that we were not doing the job.
He said that the opposition has a role to play.
Which faction is the opposition?
So they are not doing the job.
No, which faction is the opposition? That is what his question.
So which faction is the opposition?
That is for the people to decide and for you all to decide.
If
we don't deliver to the expectations of the people, then we are not part of the opposition. When it comes to the government, if they don't deliver to the expectations of the people, then they are not the government. So it is for the media, the public, and for the others to decide which side do we represent.
You said you side with the people.
You asked me a question. I answered the question.
So you said you side with the people.
Yes, I believe that I am with the people.
Are you happy the way in which this government is moving forward under the leadership of your president?
No, not at all. When you started, the way you started, the remarks that you made, can we be happy with those remarks? That the country is burdened with taxes, people are burdened with cost of living. Not only that, so many people have lost their livelihood from January 8. Especially take the case of Kalutara district, Kegol, Ratnapura, the tea and rubber. Not only when it comes to tea, it's the whole of upcountry. So what has happened? I think this lack of, number one is lack of any systematic management skills when it comes to the governing. That is the prime delinquency of the government. And the other thing is, there's nobody to deliver. Nobody to deliver. In the parliament, it's always the prime minister getting up to answer the questions, not the relevant minister. And Mr. Honorable Harshan Rajakaruna will agree with me. So, We should have the plan to execute and also the people, the personnel. I don't see that in this government. Most of may blame the previous government for everything, even for these torrential rains. They may blame this because of Rajapaksa. And
They probably might blame the Rajapaksas for not constructing the drainage system properly.
maybe that is a secondary issue. And likewise, I personally believe that there was, I don't know, to me, if you let me take, without taking any side, as an individual, I would say there was some sort of a progress in terms of moving forward this country up to January 8th. That is not a political statement that I am making.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vikramanayaka, for your thoughts. But before I open the floor for questions from the journalist, one more question to you,
Yes.
Mr. Vikramanayaka. Which media rally did you represent? You said that you side with the people. Which media rally did you represent?
I went to
one at-
Kirulapana.
You were in Kirulapana.
That
So
is
you-
where the people were.
You sided with the former president.
He was the head of the he was the
He was the head of the joint opposition.
joint opposition, not the head of the joint opposition. He is not the head of, because Mr. Dinesh Gunawardhan is the head of the joint opposition. He is there as a member of the joint opposition, but at the rally, he was the main speaker.
So you sided with the former president.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vikramanayaka, for your thoughts. But before moving on to, again, the Q&A from the journalist, a very quick question to you. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, Harshana, to respond to this. Mr. Vikramanayaka pointed the finger at you and said whether you would agree with the fact that the Prime Minister always gets up from his bench and answers whenever there is a query from the opposition. A quick answer for that, 20 seconds I can give you, but if you don't want to answer that question, I can open the floor.
No,
Do you want to
I don't
respond?
agree with him, but I know that Honorable Prime Minister is very active in the Parliament, and we are happy to have a very active Prime Minister. And unfortunately, previously we didn't see that. And yes, he can answer any question because he knows most of the subjects.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajakarna, for your thoughts as well. Let's open the floor for questions. Let me very quickly introduce our journalist this evening. On to my right is Nadeem Majid. Nice to have you on board, Nadeem. As usual, Sonali Vanagabazige, attorney at law as well, joining us this evening as a journalist right here at Newsfirst. And also, Charita, thank you very much for joining us. Didn't see you for some time, Charita. Looking forward for some good questions. Let's start off the floor from you.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Kirti Tenakon. I would also like a reply from Dr. Pratibha Hanamaheva. Mr. Tenakon, you're also the advisor to the anti-corruption of the anti-corruption front, and a statement released very recently said that the anti-corruption drive has slowed down drastically. And you also identify two reasons for that. One is inefficiency of the Attorney General's department. The other is influence of cabinet ministers who have links to the AG's department. Now, do you think that the President and the Prime Minister is aware of this situation? That's question number one. And if you were one of them, how would you tackle this situation?
I think everyone in this country knows that who is blocking the the investigation part and where it has stopped now. And when you look into the big picture of addressing the issue of bribery and corruption, number one, as you well said, the efficiency or the professionalism, the lack of professionalism for that matter, is one of the main concern issues. The other is that the systematic way of which was established during last 10-12 years is still down there, and some of these officials who has worked very closely with the Rajapaksa family is it seems like still having a very big influence inside the system, both in the military, the police department, and Attorney General's department. And I think, I mean, definitely to answer your questions about the Attorney General's department and who are the cabinet ministers who try to block this block the whole thing when it comes to the bribery and corruption. Definitely tomorrow's cabinet discussion, the cabinet will be a test, acid test, and I think by tomorrow most of these people can identify this, who are the ministers who are trying to block the anti-corruption drive.
You didn't answer my second question. I asked if you were the Prime Minister or the President, how will you tackle this situation?
Actually, I am not the President or the Prime
If
Minister,
you
and
were,
I don't, I mean, definitely we
you
are
were.
representing the civil society. And as I started, it's the change of the policy what we needed. We have gone from the very bad, I mean, we were experiencing very bad situations when it comes to the bribery and corruption. Somewhere around 2.8 trillion Sri Lankan rupees has gone away from this country, according to the very intensive researchers were done, and our debt has gone into unbelievable extent. 450,000 rupees per individual has to pay as the for the foreign countries now. So I think, I mean, this issue of addressing this corruption and bribery issues is to go to the basics and implement the very basic of how to tackle with the bribery and corruption. This is the exact thing which is not happening now. The political influence is there. In the other hand, the system was so corrupt. We have seen, we can talk about with examples when it comes to these cases, going by one to one. The system has so corrupt, and that's why I think the anti-corruption drive is not moving very fast.
So you're not doing your job right.
Definitely, yes.
You're not doing your job right as a civil society.
We are putting the pressure on the government and
But
the
they're not
opposition.
listening to
No, when it comes to, I mean, we are the ones who is taking these issues up. Now, when it comes to the central bank issues, there were, I mean, it was the civil society who took it up, especially when it comes to the April 1st treasury bond issue. It was the civil society who took it up.
One of the allegations leveled by many respective governments that have come into play is the fact that civil society talks every time to the opposition. Are you not satisfied, or haven't you got anything that you wanted from this government?
Definitely not. This is not what the civil society expected from this government, especially when the President and the Prime Minister both in their election rallies said that the eradicating the bribery and corruption is the main concerned issue. But it has not happening. We haven't seen any legal cases come into the light yet, and the investigations were, I think, I mean, not moving very smoothly in a professional manner, and we are getting more and more questions than answers these days.
Mr. Rajakarna, you made...
I also have to respond to that question.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Manu, I'll let you respond to
Now,
Sarisa's question.
This is my view and my opinion. Now, immediately after the change of the government, 6,000, 10,000, 11,000 petitions were given to CBOC, and thereafter CBOC independent. But the issue, when you start the investigation, historically, General Anuruddha Ratwatte case was only proved. There were other cases also, lot of cases. So the rush we have not seen. Even former ministers, present ministers, continuously absent in this CBOC. What civil society saying that? What civil society saying that? They must pressure not only the present, past, all. We should not protect anyone. And also, sometimes it's keep at open. If you cross over, then there is a belief, as a general public I am telling, you can actually safeguard. You have a security, you have a protection. But some backbone members are also there. They are fighting for that. But I mean, whatever the rush, near the Sibok, how many satyagraha were there? How many demonstrations were there? Why civil society can't go there today and say, what is your position? That's why I'm telling. When it come to a reality, as attorney at law, you asked me the question. You need very strong evidence. When you start collecting evidence, if no evidence, then the case may be weak. Weak and weaker, you can't prove it. It had happened previously also. So therefore, we must be very honest. And also, subject ministers are there. I don't know how many ministers are there at the moment, Honorable Parliament. Tell me how many ministers, because
One minister, state minister.
one minister can answer all questions. No? Now, who increased the taxes? Who decreased the taxes? Once again reintroduce the taxes. This is a big problem. This is a big issue. So these things must be decentralized. That is good governance. Kofi Annan say, good governance means the members, they have their vision and also they have their workload.
So you mean to say that there is no good governance now in the country?
It is diminishing.
It's diminishing.
Step by step diminishing. Wait, 1 minute, wait. I am coming with political promises. What was the promise? Everyone can enjoy with the car. Now only parliament members can enjoy with the car. The tax is 1,490. What about public officers?
So made during
That's why I'm telling. Give him bribes. For these members, give him bribes. That is the issue. So, there, what we have seen. Have you seen India? What type of vehicles they are using? Ambassador vehicles. These are very cheap vehicles. And renting buildings also. I mean, we must see everything in one platform rather than blaming. Now, when the tax 12 to 15%, 0 to 15%, because of last previous government, this is the corruption to cover up, we are putting that. It was never said in there.
Mr. Rajkaran, a lot of allegations leveled at your government in terms of corruption, in terms of good governance, not done enough. Why all these allegations at your government? Just 1.5 years old. Why? You all are not doing your job right? What's the reason?
No, I mean, at least there's the freedom for Mr. Mahanama to come and talk like this. I didn't see him talking like this in the last 10 years when the Rajapaksa regime was
I always,
missing.
in the election period also, Tennakon said, public officers can't do elections openly. I said in Sirasa TV.
Mr.
Your thoughts on this? Yes.
No, what I'm trying to say is that I don't think he would have been able to come and deliver his speech today if he had made that speech then. I'm not talking about personally that he is doing anything wrong. I'm glad that there's voice even against the government, which I recognize is a good thing. But unfortunately, that level of freedom was not there then. That's what I was trying to prove.
Mr. Rajakaran, a quick question I want to ask. I want to get to Mr. Vidrohi Kramanayaka as well. When he spoke of the Prime Minister responding to all of the questions in Parliament, you said that the Prime Minister is very active, is very capable, and therefore he is able to answer all the questions. So my question is this: if the Prime Minister is so active and capable, does that mean ipso facto that the other cabinet ministers are not active and capable? And if that is the case, is there really a need to have 39 other cabinet ministers? You can put all the portfolios under the Prime Minister and let him run the ministries through the Secretary.
No, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said either. What I said was he is very active, and I'm very happy to work under a very active Prime Minister, and he has the ability and the knowledge of quite a wide scope. Yes, other cabinet ministers are also very active and doing their job quite well. My point is the difference between the last 10 years, how the prime ministers were kept.
But in the last 10 years, the prime ministers didn't have any executive powers as such, as opposed to now where through the 19th Amendment there are powers with the that the prime minister can exercise. So isn't it an unfair comparison to compare powerless prime ministers with an empowered prime minister?
When when J.R. Jayawardena was the president, Ranasinghe Premadasa as a prime minister was very active. We have seen it in the past. That was not there during the Rajapaksa regime. Mr. Viduru Vikramanayaka's father is a very capable politician, a very respectable, capable, very senior veteran politician. But unfortunately, that was not given because it was the Rajapaksa family that was running the whole show.
Mr. Vikramanayaka, do you think that the Rajapaksa family prevented your father, former Prime Minister Ratnasiri Vikramanayaka, from being an effective Prime Minister?
You cannot answer that question if you wish to, Mr. Vikramanayaka, because I know that you cannot speak on behalf of
you're not your father, but do you think that...
Exactly, that was the answer that I wanted to give. You should
Mr.
ask this
Vikramanayaka,
question from my father, not me.
Okay, I'll ask you a question that's
But
more
Mr. Honorable Rajakaruna, you should not forget the past. You made a mention to Mr. Premadasa. What did he say? I am just a mere peon under the system.
Mr. Vikramanayaka,
Here we have an executive presidency. Under that there is a prime minister. That is why we have been telling right along, abolish executive presidency. Don't make this parliament a rubber stamp. Even now this has been made into a rubber stamp. We may have active presidents or active prime ministers. But tell me, for the past, since January 8th up to now, what have we done for the people, for this country?
Mr. Vikramanayaka, being in the opposition, the joint opposition, the opposition's role in parliament is very important, especially when it comes to oversight. At the beginning of this year, the Prime Minister, or under the leadership of the Prime Minister, a workshop was held on sectoral oversight committees in parliament. Are you a member of any of the oversight committees in parliament?
None of these committees have been so far.
Is the joint opposition doing anything to get this done?
Yeah, we have been forcing them to summon the committees, but we are not. They are not.
But none of the members of the joint opposition ever talk about this with the media. Wouldn't it be easier for you to do your job as an opposition if you were to campaign for inside parliament to establish the oversight committees so that you can do your jobs as MPs?
I did get your, sorry.
Members of the joint opposition never come to the media, never before the media. Do they raise the issue of the non-establishment of the oversight committees?
Why not? We told this. We mentioned this. I myself told the media, and that was, of course, that was in the media. So, because there are certain procedures in the parliament that we have to uphold. So, for every month, it says according to the standing orders, every month there should be a respective ministry meeting, that is the consultative committee. But now the consultative committee has been changed to oversight committees.
So are those meetings happening?
To me, which is very myopic. To me, which is very myopic. Because when there were consultative committees, anybody can raise the issues. Be it the opposition or the government, any member can raise issues for the benefit of the people, benefit of the electorate, benefit of the area. So, but now, for the past, since January 8th, how many committees has been summoned?
Mr. Vikramanayaka, you said that there was progress until the 8th of January 2015 and progress stopped following the 8th of January 2015. Am I right?
To a certain extent there was progress. I
To a
don't say
certain
100% progress.
However, the people rejected that government, again defeated on the 17th of August. You had your speaker, who was the main speaker in Kirulapura, leading the campaign on the August 17th.
Yeah.
Again lost.
Yes.
People rejected.
So with
The
Mr.
former
Winston
president.
Churchill, he won the war, but the next election he lost.
That's democracy, isn't it?
Yeah, this is democracy at
You
work.
should let the people decide what they want and what they don't want.
So we respect that.
And right now, do you think the people want the former president to come into the fray?
That is for the people to decide in the next election.
And you all are going on a campaign from now onwards.
No, we are not going after person.
Who are you going after?
We are on the we have to, the politics has to be based on principles. Now as Mr.
What is-
Pratibha
I want to get
Mahanamewa
some-
and
I wa-
also
I wa-
Mr. Tennakon, they have been telling about corruption. What is, have we tried to identify the root cause of corruption? How this came into the society, among to the politicians, the political arena? How did it creep in? In 60s there was no corruption. And if Mr. Pratibha Mahanamewa will agree, there were certain cases, even for a packet of rice. There was a member who lost his seat in the parliament. So that was the nature of how honest and clean our politics was.
Have you identified the root cause of corruption, Mr. Vikramanayake? What do you believe is the root cause?
Yes. One reason is the executive presidency, and the other one is the electoral system and the judicial system.
Mr. Rajakarna, whatever happened, talking about the electoral system, whatever happened to the 20th Amendment? Is that ever going to happen, or is it that current politicians are too afraid of losing their seats in a first-past-the-post battle, so therefore they'll rather cling on to proportional representation and through the district?
No, we are not going to bring the 20th Amendment simply because we are going to have a new constitution altogether. That is the reason for not having the constitution. We are at the moment in the parliament discussing to get a new constitution altogether.
Is that a delaying tactic? Because the electoral reforms were promised through the 100-day program. That has not happened. Now you're saying that you're going to do it through a new constitution.
Yeah, in the 100.
Are you delaying? Because constitution making is not an easy process. Constitutional amendment is far easier. So by going for an entirely new constitution, are you simply delaying having to address this issue?
No. After the January 8th, we promised that we are going to have a general election in 100 days. And unfortunately, when we had the general election, it had passed, I think about 150 days or something like that, as far as I can remember.
But
So
I think, Mr. Rajakarna, for the people who voted for the president, the work that was to be done in the 100 days was more important than having an election at the end of the 100 days.
no, I don't agree with you. That's probably when it comes to you, probably that would have been the main thing. But I believe that the country needed a strong government. We had a minority government, but we couldn't do anything other than dissolving in going and going.
How
for
can
a
you say you
fresh
couldn't do
election.
anything? Mr. Rajakarna, you passed the 19th Amendment was passed
Yes.
almost
We
unanimously.
go in
Yes.
for a short
So
commercial
how can you
break.
say that you couldn't do
No,
anything?
nothing. We have to stop it. When I say stop it, you have to stop it. Thank you very much. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's the third round of Face the Nation. Stay connected, stay with us. We're discussing about state of affairs in the country. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. Let's start off the third round with Mr. Harshan Rajkarna, United National Party parliamentarian. Mr. Rajkarna, fingers were pointed at the government saying that there is no good governance. Seems like it, because you have a parliamentarian from the Kalutara district going and sitting in front of a principal saying that admit the child or else I won't leave, and the principal is compelled to admit the child to the school. Very similar to what happened when a former minister went and reprimanded an individual, roped him into a tree, and then this particular minister in question today said that he is going to create a new joint opposition. Very similar. Where is good governance? Same activities taking place now as well. Do you want me to name the parliamentarian in question?
No,
I can do that as well, if you want to. You know the incident.
Deputy Minister Palita Devaraperuma,
Who was also suspended from Parliament for a week.
So,
is that good governance?
no, I wouldn't agree on that. I wouldn't do that, and I wouldn't agree on what he did. There's no black or white government. I mean, we have to face the reality. There will be few people who would do something which is not appropriate, and that does not mean what this UMP led government what they have done is far greater than one or two incidents.
White sheet, black mark. What shows more prominently, the white sheet or the black mark?
I agree.
And so you agree with Dr. Mahana Mehwa when he says that there is no good governance even in the ranks of this government itself?
No, I don't agree to that. What I am saying is
But
that
there is an incident of this sort as well.
there are few cases, few incidences that would harm even the current government. But what we have done so far is enormous. Yes, we could have done. We could do a lot more. You know, it's not as easy as you say. There's a lot more to do. But what we have come from 10 feet or 20 feet underground to where we are. So,
but there is no change.
Sorry?
But there is no change.
No, there is lot more change. Lot more change to come. There is quite a lot that has happened so far. Let me explain to you.
Please go ahead.
Even let's say the financial, people are talking about the VAT and the financial issues. You know, from independence to 2005 Rajapaksa regime, the whole loan, the total was about 2,000 billion, $2,100. From 2005 to from 2005 to 2014, it had increased 4 times. It has increased 4 times, and the per capita debt was somewhere like 425,000. So we took this government from that position. So we have to correct a hell of a lot to work things out. You know, Sri Lankan Airlines, petroleum, electricity board, all these government institutions were running in huge losses. So when it comes to international relations, you know, even our neighboring country India voted against us. So we were cornered from most of the powerful nations in this world. You know, we had to change all this, and so far we have done it. Not only India is working with us, China, the European Union, the US.
And in no way you all are protecting perpetrators of the former regime.
No, there's absolutely no reason for us to do that.
Just one question to you, Mr. Rajakaruna, before we move on to Dr. Mahana Mehwa. You are pointing the finger at a former ambassador, Mr. Udayanga Veeratunga, saying that he was supplying arms to a rebel organization in Ukraine. You all said that he has been swindling out a lot of money. However, your government issues a new passport for the former diplomat to visit Thailand. Why?
This is the thing.
And he accompanies the former president itself. Why?
I mean, till he is accused.
He is accused by your government very directly.
No, I know.
You have
he's
FCID team
accused.
going to Ukraine as well to investigate the matter. That is not an accusation?
No, it is an accusation, but he has not been found guilty.
So he can free and roam around wherever he wants in the world.
That's up to the courts to decide.
And the government provides him a free passport as well.
Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, we are not a government that influences the judiciary system in the country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hashan Rajkarana, for your thoughts. I now move on to Dr. Pratibha Mahanamheva. Dr. Mahanamheva, you very candidly spoke about good governance. You held the post of former commissioner of the Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission for some time. You were one of the commissioners. Am I right, Dr. Mahanamheva?
Yeah.
Right. Was there good governance at the Human Rights Commission during your tenure in office? You all had approximately around 10,000 cases coming in.
Most of
Where
the
was
cases,
good governance?
Yeah, most of the cases we can only give recommendations.
How many cases did you all give recommendations to?
At the moment 90% were cleared. Most of the cases were individual cases, and there were Rathupassala incident, thereafter prison shooting incident. For all we had given recommendation. If you read the Rathupassala incident, the report is there in Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission website. You can read it.
Were you all independent?
Sorry?
Were you all
We acted
independent?
independently. We acted independently. What I am going to tell you, basically, you read 2012 Universal Periodical Report, which submitted by Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission at that time, and one from civil society and one from Ministry of Foreign Affairs. But start reading the combined Universal Human Rights Report Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission recommended. We recommended this Freedom of Information Bill, abolition of death penalty. So please read that. After reading, you can argue. And also you were talking about Jaya Jayawardena period when Premadasa was so active. I don't know whether Harshan Rajakaruna is knowing. No date resignation letters were taken at that time. So all the members were feared. There was a time like that. But at the time, I don't think Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe is not doing like that. But there was a history. That history, don't forget the history. I think you know this very well. No date resignation letters. If you ask anyone, they know it. So what I am telling you, we have done something. There may be lapses. I agree with that. I totally agree. What we had sometimes given recommendation, not carried. Now see what happened. This present Sri Lanka Human Rights Commission, they gave a recommendation. Sri Lanka Police Department went to Court of Appeal. So compare it. Compare and contrast. So there
But you said that the Human Rights Commission can only give recommendations, and they can give recommendations, and
Only
they can be even
recommendations.
tried in court. That's not a problem. There is no issue like
yeah,
that.
but if really these recommendations were not carried out, there is no way to
So you can't
implement
really
it.
point the finger at the present Human Rights Commission.
No,
can
I
you?
am not telling like that. I am telling basically there is a court case. I am not going to come in that. So you have to see the root causes. Why that also happened. There may be some reasons, but in our time, not a single case went to Court of Appeal. Whatever we had given, we called the IGP at that time and try to implement.
What do you all do about the Prevention of Terrorism Act that was enacted at that time? What do you all do about the human
Yes.
rights detainees?
I'll tell you. When 3 LTT suspects were brought to Sri Lanka, Shankar's brother-in-law, this LTT Tiger Voice leader, and another one, Human Rights Watch published their lives under threat. Immediately I personally visited. As a commissioner, I personally visited to the 2nd floor, and thereafter I had discussion more than 3 hours with them, and basically we asked to give their protection. Immediately these human rights defenders were Ruki and others arrested. Within a few hours we went there. So we always try to protect it, right? In that way we have done our job very best. You can ask from these activities at that time who intervened. But the main issue, allegations are there. Not following, not carrying out, and not independent, bias, all are people. So this also I am not going to comment independency once again with these good governance issues. So this is where relatively we have to see it. I mean, if someone is trying to eradicate bribery and corruption, that is good. But we have to support that. But honestly, is it happening? That is the main issue. Is it honestly happening? That's my only question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamheva, for your thoughts. So now move on to Mr. Kirti Tennakon, Executive Director of the Campaign for a Free and Fair Election. Mr. Tennakon, you've been very vocal about corruption. You've been very vocal about how there have been a lot of allegations against the former regime itself, saying that there needs to be a change. Are you satisfied with the change, or do you think that the present regime, the UNP regime, is protecting certain individuals? Do you think so?
Definitely yes, and we have seen that the present government is protecting some of the selected people. For example, I'll name some of these issues which we have gone through during the last 15 months. One of the main concerns about the Rajapaksa regime is Gamini Senarath, and he was the former chief of staff.
Mr. Tennakon, I want to take full responsibility for the
Definitely yes, I'm taking the full responsibility of that.
Take responsibility for statements.
For sure, yes. There were so much of allegations on this particular chief of staff, and we have seen that at the very beginning of this particular government there were investigation starts. As far as we know, there were 6 such investigations were started, and I want to question all the anti-corruption or the agencies in Sri Lanka. What happened to all that 6 investigations so far? None of has delivered which reached to the end, and I think definitely 5 out of that 6 investigations are under the carpet at the moment. And we have seen one driver called the Sarath the Sanayaka was coming out, and he was tortured, and CCD, the Colombo Crime Division, was taken him into the custody, and we took him to the Human Rights Commission. Then thereafter he was taken into the IGP's police headquarters to inquire. And it's very interesting to know that he has the prime witness of some of the financial irregularities, one of the financial crimes during the Rajapaksa regime, and it was unbelievable that he is getting tortured under this government inside the police station, and moreover his accusations, the evidence he provided is unbelievable. The issue here are the government entities, including the FCID and the CCD, are really investigating on these cases. The other thing, we mentioned 38 cases were referred to, the investigations were over and the files were handed over to the Attorney General's department. Everyone knew that there was an issue with the former Attorney General, and everyone thought after the new appointment by the Constitution Council there will be a very big hope on the corruption drive. But so far 3 months has gone now. For last 3 months we have seen that the Attorney General's department has not delivered anything. The other factor here, there are so many eyewashes. As you very correctly said, in the parliament we have seen Lakshman Kiriyala was saying that the military will not make the security to the Kurunegala district MP Mahinda Rajapaksa, and we have seen the same statement coming from the Secretary of Defence. But here we knew that there are military vehicles still providing security to the Mahinda Rajapaksa, and there are, as you very correctly said, there were 4 people. I don't want to comment on all 4 people, but I want to make a comment on 2 people. Is one Major Neville and the Colonel Sampath. These 2 people has allegated by the present government, members of the government, that they were involved with various crimes. And now still, if these people are the part of military, how they are providing the security for Mahinda
Thank you very much,
Rajapaksa.
Mr. Kirthanaka. And again, as I said before, we won't take any responsibility for the comments or views expressed by the politicians concerned with regard to names in particular. I have to make note of it. Any names that comes through or said by the politicians should automatically be taken responsibility for the names that they mention in this particular program in question. Now move on to Mr. Viduri Krumnaika. Mr. Krumnaika, you said that the Prime Minister gets up to answer almost all the questions in Parliament. My question to you is very simple. Was power centered around the Rajapaksa family when they were in power, like the former Minister of Economic Development? Was he in charge of everything?
To my knowledge, no.
He was not
Because
in charge.
as I said, according to the standing orders, there were consultative committees summoned. So if the power was vested in one family, especially with name mentioned by you, Mr. Basil Rajapaksa, then how can we talk of our problems with the respective ministers and the officials?
A lot of members of the joint opposition are disheartened by the fact that the former Economic Development Minister is in the forefront now. I don't know whether you would agree or not, but there seems to be some sort of discontentment right now in the joint opposition.
Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
You don't have a problem?
I don't have any problems of that nature.
In terms of moving forward, 425,000 rupees was sought by the former president from the foreign minister to purchase his ticket to Uganda. Is this principal politics that you spoke of?
In practice, there should be lot of changes. In practice. Now, you all have been debating about the corruption, over corruption. Justice delayed is justice denied. And mark my words, none of these cases will be proved. No, they will, everybody, practically everybody will go scot-free. Mark my words. Don't ask me how and why I am telling this. I can tell that at the end of the day, this is what will happen.
As the public,
Because the political, what the politics today is nothing but deals, full of deals. There may be political deals, there may be monetary deals, there may be position deals. So it's full of deals. This is the very nature of present politics in Sri Lanka.
and as a member of the public, as a member representing the public in particular, you are okay with these people, men and women, going scot-free after committing
I'm
a
not.
crime?
I'm not. Even during Rajapaksa, during that government, I said that this should be addressed. And when the election results were announced, I said there is a threat, and unless we take care of this, we correct ourselves, we cannot surge ahead. So that is what happened.
The finger has been pointed at a majority of the joint opposition members, Mr. Vikram Naika. I don't want to mention names, but you know very clearly that many allegations have been leveled against many members of the joint opposition as we speak right now. Now you seem to be a part of them. Are you not feeling guilty that you betrayed the public who voted you in? What is your sentiment? Tap your conscience and tell me. What do you think? When you were in Kirlapana,
I do have some reservations. I honestly say I do have some reservations. And I openly say this. At times I don't want to be on the stage with some of these people, some of these personalities. That is, I'm very open about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vidura Wickramanayake, UPFA parliamentarian. We now open the floor for questions from the journalists. Let's start off with Sonali.
Thanks, Sham. Dr. Mahanamaheva, my first question is for you. We're talking about the political situation in the country. I'll get to that in just a moment. But several incidents of ragging were recently reported in universities in Sri Lanka. Several people were also arrested. We have the necessary legislation in place to prohibit ragging taking place in universities. We are also party to several conventions as well. In your opinion, what needs to be done? Because this is a greater issue. There is a greater issue which needs to be curbed. What do you think must be done? Should there be legislative enactments, or should there be multi-stakeholder discussions? What needs to be done to sort of quell this dragon?
I think that is the most burning issue at the moment in universities, whichever Prime Minister and all the other parliament members, many are talking this. Now, when Honorable Richard Patirana was the Minister of Higher Education, he introduced a law, that is 1998 Anti-Ragging Act. But up to now, not a single case had been filed. Whenever a ragging reported, this has been handled by university administration. When it handled by university administration, it is not a court case. Even it was not reported to police. So what happened? Their studentship suspended or examination suspended, like that lenient way they have handled it. But according to this law, it is very, very clear. Ragging is a torture. It's a violation of 1966 Civil and Human Rights, Civil and Political Rights Convention, as well as 1994 Torture Convention. Like that, many rules and laws are there. So this is a real time. This 1998 Act should become a reality, which clearly say 10 years punishment. This is where these seniors normally ragging juniors. It was contemporary happening, previously happening, and it go as a tradition. No, it can't be a tradition. We have to stop it here. Universities are also a part of this society, and it is not a immunity. So police can come and investigate. Now the one case is there, investigations are going on. So I think really the law must be implemented. Legislations are there, but other than the legislation, I believe, even I have experience in other countries how this handled, and most of the part of the countries world I have visited. So there must be a stakeholder meeting. That is very important. Most of the political parties are really connected with their student union. I will give one example. I was admitted to Colombo University Faculty of Law 1986. Where that time one group were highly ragging. And the opposition group, student group are not ragging, but they are ragging in Jayawardenepura University. So I know clearly these are wings, student wings really connected to political parties. And also political parties also cannot escape with this. So therefore we have to start some dialogue with parents as well as political parties and change the culture. Law alone can't do anything. So
are you saying higher education in Sri Lanka is politicized?
Higher education institutions are politicized or not, we have to see it comparatively. I am not going to comment it, but with the Independent University Grant Commission and other commissions are there, now it is coming with this good governance. In future it may not happen. I totally believe it may not happen, but there are some incidents, it can also happen. So what I totally believe, there must be some function or authority, or there must be some type of committees to set up to stop ragging. Now several universities ragging is not there, but some universities ragging is happening, but these are all connected. Why they rag? There are several reasons. Economic reasons are there, examination reasons are there, other than that political reasons. So if you can start a dialogue with political party members are there, they will also can support, we can eradicate that situation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rajakaruna, my question is to you. Your government was very optimistic about taking Sri Lanka to the next level in terms of making it a telecommunications hub, offering free Wi-Fi to the citizenry. Yes?
Yes.
However, we are now told that there will be a 15% VAT imposed on telecommunication services. So by imposing this VAT, how is your government supposed to make Sri Lanka a telecommunications hub? Isn't there a discrepancy in the statement itself?
This VAT
VAT plus the telecommunications levy, Sonali.
Sorry?
And the telecommunications levy that has been imposed.
The total tax
The total
burden
tax
on
burden.
telecommunications
Yeah.
is 43%.
Yeah. The latest is the VAT.
Both.
Both together,
So,
comes to 43%.
no, VAT is something that, we are not happy to do, but unfortunately, we are in such a situation that we have to raise funds to pay these loans, and the loans that were taken in the previous year. That's what I was trying to explain to you. From independence, from the day we got independence to 2005, the amount of loans that we have taken had increased 4 times during the Rajapaksa regime. So whether we like it or not, as a government, we need to pay these the loan interest and the installments. Therefore, we have to, in the short term, there's no other way other than increasing some sort of tax. So that's the reason that we have increased VAT from 11% to 15%. But I believe that this will be a temporary tax, till we sort things out. We are in a position that we have even economically we are moving forward. Now, for example, it takes time. We can't do this overnight, within 6 months. No, the environment that we have been able to develop in the last 6 months to 1 year, we need that will attract investors. Not only the local investors, even not only the foreign investors, even the local investors didn't invest in Sri Lanka previously. Even the big companies, the blue chips, they invested in countries like Bangladesh, Vietnam, and so on. Even the Sri Lankan blue chips. So now they are coming back. So it takes time. One thing is law and order. Now there's some sort of confidence. Even internationally, that's what I was saying, that internationally we have gained trust.
But you are going on record saying that VAT is a temporary tax.
Absolutely, that we are burdening the people temporarily without I mean, there's no other choice, unfortunately.
Mr. Rajakaran, you said
just one question.
One question, Nadeem. Mr. Vidura Vikramanayake, you said that politics is nothing but deals. On the 22nd of September last year, you were quoted as saying that you were tired of being an MP. What is the reason for this exhaustion?
The state of affairs in the parliament and in politics.
Nadeem.
Thank you. Mr. Rajakaran, you said that there was no other choice with regard to the imposition of a VAT, of an increased VAT, even if it's temporary. But don't you think that practicing financial discipline is a choice? By which I wish to refer your attention to the alleged goings-on at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the bond issues, which very controversial bond issues, with more bids being accepted, sometimes more than 8 times in excess of the indicated amount. Bids being issued at higher, bonds being issued at higher interest rates. Don't you think that practicing financial discipline will enable you to take the country forward without imposing burdensome taxes?
I totally agree with you. There should be financial discipline. In the bond issue, it's quite a debatable issue. When it comes to bond issue, before during the Rajapaksa regime, I am when you look at before January 8th,
Yes, you're right. The Prime Minister indicated that there was upwards of, the Prime Minister alleged that there was upwards of several trillions of rupees that were swindled through bond issues. But does that mean that you should continue with the same practices?
No, absolutely not. That's exactly the reason that we have gone to, okay, let me explain the bond issue. There are two ways to issue bonds. One is private placements and one is the auction, right? During the Rajapaksa regime, there was hardly auctions. It was all the time private placement. So that's where the corruption was, right? When it came to the auctions, I can give you some statistics. In 2014, there were only 6 auctions, where in 2015, after the January 8th, there were 22 auctions. So when you have an auction, there's a chance for all the primary dealers.
Who is the beneficiary of these auctions? Who's the beneficiary?
The primary dealers.
Who? Which organization?
No, there are 16 primary
dealers.
Yes,
Mr. Rajakarn,
so it's up to them to bid.
But then this is the thing. You said that there's private placement and auctions. Of course, you're correct. Shamir at the beginning of this show said that corruption is worse than prostitution. Don't you think that having private placement would be better than a rigged auction, as is being accused, as is being alleged by the opposition? The accusation from the opposition is that true, you're having auctions, but these auctions are rigged.
No, I don't.
Because there's one party that allegedly
I don't believe so. You can't rig an auction. It's not an easy thing to rig an auction. It's not done in a where like in the temple you put flowers to an auction, right? This is in a computerized system where you do it. I myself I have been an investment advisor for over 5 years in a private organization. So I have seen this. I have done this. So if you say that you can rig an auction,
I'll rephrase.
I really don't know how you can do that.
I'll rephrase the question. What I mean by rigging is that it can be fixed by divulging privileged information to one of the bidders. Isn't that one way of rigging the auction?
I really don't think that is possible. It's not. I agree that there is a especially when it comes to Arjun Mahendran and the son-in-law being one of the primary dealers, right? Arjun Aloysius. Definitely it's a conflict of interest issue. But when it comes to an auction, it's very, very difficult. I can't think how you can rig it. And definitely what you have to think, even Arjun Aloysius, he got the license by Ajit Nimad Cabral, right? And the biggest issue during that regime is that all these bond issues were private placements. You could have anybody who had a good relationship with the governor were given chances.
Mr.
So I think auction is far more
transparent.
Yes, far more transparent.
I think the biggest question or the biggest question mark on the treasury bond issue, we don't know who is the primary dealers of the April 1st treasury bond issue, and it was not revealed. It was covered by Arjun Mahendran and it was covered by the monetary board. The issue here, in the March 29th, the announcement came for $40,000, but the auction went into $80,000. why and who made this particular decision, increasing 40,000 US dollars to the limit of 80,000 US dollars, and it was paid on the highest interest, 14% to 8 or 14, just a bit over 14%, which was the highest interest rate. In the other hand, where we want to find out, the question will be answered when we can find out, or if we can find out, a government bank is getting involved with the issue, and who has invested, who is the investor, is that the employment trust fund is the investor or not. And once again, the biggest question is simply, who are the primary dealers? For the first time in history, in this auction, the primary dealers are still hidden after 48 days.
Mr. Rajakaran, just one more question to you. You mentioned earlier that there is a conflict of interest with the governor of the central bank and a company you mentioned. The governor of the central bank's term is ending soon. As a public representative, do you believe that it should be extended? Seeing that you yourself have said that there is a conflict of interest, do you think that it should be extended?
I think Mr. Arjuna Mahendran is a very well qualified person, especially for, we have seen people who in the previous regime, how these people were appointed. When you come to Arjuna Mahendran per se, he has experience even in the central bank itself. He has been working there for over 10 years, and also he has been working in the banking sector as in the HSBC and as well as somewhere in Dubai, as far as I know. So he's a very well qualified person, no doubt in that. He was a BOI chairman at one time.
I'm not doubting the current governor's qualifications. There's no, like you said, he has a lot of his resume speaks of his
in
experience.
The previous regime, it was
So
a farm reader who was appointed as a director in a bank. So.
Yeah, of course, I'm not questioning his qualifications, Mr. Rajakaran. My question
and I
is,
think
there is a conflict of interest, though.
I believe,
and he is not the only qualified person. Don't you think
no,
the government can
I
find
think
a qualified
that
person
he's
with no
very
conflict
well
of interest?
qualified, and I think he has done a great job. And the conflict of interest part is there. I wouldn't say that there is nothing there, but okay. For example, if is Arjun Aloysius supposed to stop doing the business that he has been doing? Because
of course not. You'll be stopping free enterprise if you do that.
Exactly my point. So I think he is a professional person, that he will be able to handle his position, even though his son-in-law is a primary dealer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajakaran. Charita, before we go, you have one question from Mr. Vikram Naik.
Yes, Mr. Vikram Naik, now COPE is to present a report to Parliament in June, covering several state-owned enterprises, Central Bank, CEB, Sri Lankan Airlines. Now we know that there's hardly anything that COPE could do if their recommendations are not implemented by subject ministers. So what is the role of the joint opposition at the time of this report being forwarded to Parliament? What can the joint opposition, how can they contribute to give teeth to COPE?
Yeah, we can do a lot of things. First, we can take this to the people, and we can go on an awareness campaign, and all these things could be done. And we have to first discuss this with the joint opposition, other members, and we have to come to a very solid front where we can. It is not every time it says that Rajapaksa regime, it is because of the Rajapaksa regime they have incurred so many, they have taken so much of loans and all these things. These all water under the bridge. Every time there was a speaker from the opposition at that time for the past 5 years. That why when I was in the parliament, they were criticizing about these taking loans, taking this amount of the loans, and this is not in a proper way. These things has been said time and time again. And don't tell me, Mr. Rajakaruna, that you all didn't know anything when you came to power. If that is the case, you should not be in that seat, and also your Prime Minister, if that is the case.
No, we knew, but we didn't think that it has gone up to this level.
No, no, now don't bluff, please.
No,
you were not
I-
in the
I-
parliament.
I- I can-
You
I
were
will-
not in the parliament,
I
Mr.
don't have to
Rajakaruna,
be
at
in
that
the
time.
parliament, but you can
But
know.
at that time, every speaker
I don't have to be
who
in the
rose to
parliament.
speak were accusing of Rajapaksa regime of these things. But now they are telling that as if they were born yesterday. Oh, so much of loans. And we are taking taxes from the people. We are squeezing their necks just to repay. What about the other issues? The corruption, the wanton wastage of money. The Ministry of Agriculture has agreed to pay 95 million for a
Mr.
building.
Vikramanayake, are you suggesting that ongoing investigations should be stopped, or
No. They should be. See, this is the problem. I think Mr. Pratibha Mahanameva will support my argument. When there was then an insurgency in 1971, there was a special court commission set up for this. They would have done this if they were honest.
Do you think there was corruption during the last 10 years where the former president was?
There was
in power?
corruption. I told you, since 1977, this has been going on.
So was there corruption in particular during the last 10 years that the former president was in power?
There, to a certain extent, yes.
And you're still supporting the former president's camp?
I am not supporting the former president's camp.
Who are you supporting then?
I am supporting the people. I am supporting whether it is whoever the leader. That is impertinent to me, because leaders come and go, but the country has to progress.
But
There
you're the very person-
may be certain drawbacks. I do agree. There were several drawbacks. I do agree. During the Rajapaksa government, yes.
You just told me a couple of minutes ago, Mr. Vikramanayake, that you have reservations about certain people
Yeah, of
in
course.
that camp, in
Yeah.
that platform,
Yeah.
and you sometimes feel guilty to even sit down with them or even stand with them. But you're still with them.
Yes.
Why?
There are reasons that I have to be with them, not with them.
With whom?
I told you, I am with the people.
And you think the people want those corrupt individuals stand?
No, they don't want. They don't want.
Mr. Viduru
But
Vikramanayake?
they don't want that to happen. But it will take time. That is exactly what I told. Are they honest in prosecuting these people? That is why I made a point to compare in 1971 insurgency.
Thank you very much.
If they are really honest, they can go ahead. There are a lot of means and ways to do this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vikramanayake, for your thoughts. We move on to the final round in a bit. We're going for a short commercial break before that. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. We'll start off the final round with Dr. Pratibha Mahanameheva, former Commissioner of the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka and also attorney at law. Dr. Mahanameheva, a lot of issues as far as the government is concerned, also with regard to the former regime as well, with regard to what prosecution is all about. Why aren't individuals being prosecuted? What is the way forward for a country like Sri Lanka? What is the advice you have for the government?
this is where the behavior of the political culture in Sri Lanka. That's why a shaking government comes into power. Minority government comes into power. Only Jaya Jayawardena had that power. But even he used that in a different way. Therefore, they have to tackle certain problems. They want to keep MPs happy as well as they want to get more MPs for their side. But finally, who are the victims in this country? Poor voters. Voters believe the promises given by a lot of politicians. So finally they are paying all these things. It should not happen. Even USA, Maryland, sale tax 6%. Virginia, no sale tax. These are some of the countries where they can also tell the previous government were doing those things and we are charging very high. It should not be like that. And also this telecommunication, there is ongoing case also in Supreme Court, a petition file. When you are introducing tax, the principle is reasonableness. Whether it is reasonable. So you have to think more. Even you know what happened in the petrol case when former CJ Honorable Sarathan Silva delivered 100 rupees you can give petrol, but government never accepted. So Supreme Court can deliver judgments. But my argument is this: must be fair. Rather than putting one defense for all, it may not succeed. Country may not develop as it is. Even China, Russia, we can get their support and start this business. And invited investors to Sri Lanka. How many visited here? Even German investors were invited. But no one is coming because there is no political stability. In the world, national governments were created soon after a war. No need national government. Because national government, the other countries never trust. It can be collapsed. So they may not come for political reasons. I mean, philosophy is good, theory is good, but it may not happen. So you have to think a different structure.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pratibha Mahanamheva, for joining us this evening as well. I now move on to Mr. Kirti Tennakon. Mr. Tennakon, you pointed the finger at the present regime saying they're not doing enough, they've not done enough. What is the option? We the public, we the media, who can we rely on if that is the case?
Actually, what we see is that there's no general policy implementation, and there's an issue how to deal with the policies. And Mr. Vikramanayake very correctly said, and we have seen that so much of deals coming on. The political players, both the president and the prime minister, is playing with the present political environment.
What do you mean? I totally understand what you're saying, Mr. Tennakon. You spoke about this before as well about policies not being implemented. What do you want? What is your objective? Do you want the former president to come into power again?
Definitely, it's not one thing. That's the last thing what we want to see again.
Now, what do you want if that's the case?
Definitely, we want to law enforcement to take place, number one. The number two is that the judicial independence, as it says, we haven't experienced it. We have to see it in practice. It has to be delivered on ground. This is something we are not experiencing these days. And in the other hand, the policy discussion is not in a very healthy level. We have seen that when it comes to the taxation, for example, the tax were introduced within no time, and these tax policies were changed within no time. There are so much of allegations coming on when the tax policy was changed within no time. In the other hand, when you look into the bigger picture with the economy, there was a public belief that whenever the UNP is coming into the power, they are performing in the financial sector in a better way. But it has totally collapsed during the last 15 years. That myth has come in grounded, definitely. And when you look into the financial terms, we need for next 3 years to ensure the cash flow itself, we need another $3 billion at least. There's no clue whatever from this particular government where this this money is going to come into Sri Lanka. And when we are talking about the transparency, there were no new laws were reintroducing, or new laws has not come into effect. And we were talking about some of the worst laws where it is not healthy for the foreign investors to come into and invest in Sri Lanka. These policy changes which were highlighted during the presidential election camp and the parliamentary election time was not done. What are the new laws introduced on the
Mr. Nikon,
economic part?
you spoke of taxation policy. You said arbitrary taxation have taken place over the last few months, in particular the VAT. But during the last 10 years, when the former president was in power, you did not even comment. There was gas prices increased, petrol prices. A good example was given by Dr. Mahanameva as well, where the Supreme Court said that the petrol prices should be given at 100 rupees, but the government did not even abide. The cost of living was in an upward trajectory. You all did not speak. But
we
now,
spoke, definitely. We are the ones who went to the courts on hedging deal. And we were speaking very much loudly. And here we have to admit something.
But fell on deaf ears.
One thing we are experiencing after the January 8th is that the
loud,
freedom
but fell on
to
deaf
talk.
ears.
Sorry?
You all were loud, but it fell on deaf ears.
Yes, definitely, and this is the same pattern now. Which is going on. So that is the frustration developing on this particular government. Even that time, there was suppression came on the people who was talking at that particular time. Now we are having the freedom to speak, but the policy alternatives has come into the practice. It is not practicing on ground. So there's so much of talks are taking place.
Mr. Tennakoon, for your thoughts as well. I had to cut you off there. I'm very sorry, but thank you very much for joining us this evening. I now move on to Mr. Vidura Wickramanayake. Mr. Wickramanayake, 18th Amendment to the Constitution. You said that you were in the previous Parliament as well. Most of you...
I supported that.
You supported the 18th Amendment to the Constitution.
I supported 18th Amendment as well as the 19th Amendment.
You supported the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which says that a president can only contest 2 terms. That was very clear in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. And you did support. You do agree. 8th of January, right after the presidential poll...
I said I did support.
You said 18th, and you supported the 19th Amendment to the Constitution as well. Absolutely right. Mr. Wickramanayake, right after the 8th of January presidential elections, the former president was silent for a few months and then again started his campaign to contest the general elections. After contesting the general elections, after he lost his campaign as a whole, he was elected as a parliamentarian, but as a whole, when he lost the polls, again he was silent for some time, and now again he is visiting temples. He goes, he rarely makes a submission in Parliament. I have only seen him making a submission in Parliament a couple of times, but he makes a lot of submissions when he goes to temples, when he goes out. He's very vocal when he goes out. But he could definitely use the parliamentary privileges that he has been granted. My question to you is, are you trying to push the former president under the bus again? What are you trying to do? What is the objective? If the former president is watching, he can get some clarity on this as well. What are you trying to do?
I cannot talk for others.
What are you trying to do?
I told you I am on the side of the people. So whether it is the Rajapaksa government or whether it is Maithripala Wickramasinghe government, if there is some mistake has been done or some error, then I will talk of it. So nothing is going to prevent me, because I have been elected by the people to the parliament. So that is my duty as a parliamentarian. So that's it. So when you are trying to get an answer from me about pushing Mr. Rajapaksa to be in politics.
No, I'm asking you not to be in politics. Are you trying to push him under the bus? That's what I'm asking you.
No, I don't know. I don't think that he should be under the bus.
Where should he be then?
He should be in the bus.
In the bus, driving the bus, or as a passenger in the bus?
Driving the bus, yes.
And you want to be a part of that bus as well. You want to be a member, a commuter in this bus.
Yes.
Again, with the very people that you said that you don't want to sit with.
How can you say that it could be the very people?
No, with the very people that you said that...
How can you say that? There is another 4.5 years for the elections.
You said that you have reservations.
There could be a lot of changes. There could be a lot of changes. Who knows? Some of them will be if the good governance takes place. Some of these people could be behind bars. If and only if.
Mr. Vikramanayake, before we wrap up with you, one simple question to you. When you think about the political culture, I'm not going to ask you to speak on behalf of your father. Your father was a prime minister of this country, with a man with a lot of integrity. I've had the honor and privilege of interviewing him a couple of times as well when he was serving as a prime minister. When you touch your heart, what do you think about the political culture of this country? Do you think Vidura Vikramanayake is doing the right thing? Do you think so? When you sleep at night, do you think, I am doing the right thing?
I don't think it only at nights. No. Whenever I am awake, yes, I do think about it. I live with my conscience, and I will die with my conscience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vikramanayake, for your thoughts as well. I now move on to Mr. Harshanaka Rajkarna, United National Party parliamentarian. Mr. Rajkarna, you made a very interesting remark in one of the questions that was posed by Nadim. You said that you were an investment advisor for 5 years. That's some news for me, to be very honest, Mr. Rajkarna. If someone came to you with some cash and said that they want to invest in Sri Lanka, what would be your advice? Do you think that they should invest in Sri Lanka?
I think I would say it's the right time to invest.
It's the right time to invest with the central bank doing things which is not transparent.
I think.
How would you advise them? Sell me the country.
I think
I have $1 million rupees in my hand. Tell me how must I invest my money? Where must I invest?
I think as a country, we are going in the right direction. What the joint opposition, including my friend Vidura Vikramanayake, what they are doing is they are trying to bring back Mahinda Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa, Chamal Rajapaksa, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Namal Rajapaksa, Shashinda Rajapaksa back into power. That's the goal of the joint opposition. That's what they are trying to do. It's obvious. You can see it. It was only Mahinda Rajapaksa before, and Basil flew out of the country and he is back again, and it's them who's running the show. So unfortunately, like in the previous time, Vidura Vikramanayake, a brave soldier would be in the backstage. You know, that's a harsh reality. That's what is going to happen. And he did mention that we should have known when we took on this government about the debt we had. No, we had no choice. We had no idea the number of loans that they have taken, because usually the government takes loans from the treasury, and these government institutions, they didn't not only take from the treasury, they took loans from banks, and also those institutions have taken from foreign banks as well. You know, I'll tell you what the 9 years they have done. The outstanding liabilities at Sri Lankan Airlines alone is almost 212 million. Airport Aviation 37 million. Sri Lanka Ports Authority 260 million. Ceylon Petroleum Corporation 361 million. Ceylon Electricity Board 51 million. That you know, all these government institutions, the amount of losses that they have gained is unbearable. So we have managed in such a short time not only the economy on the right track, but also when it comes to international relations, when it comes to judiciary, when it comes to human rights, when it comes to freedom of media, you know, all these things. There's quite a holistic.
Mr. Rajkarna, we need to wrap up, but before that, very simple question to you. You said that if I am to invest in Sri Lanka, it would be the right time, and then you would advise me to invest in Sri Lanka. Let's say you want to invest in the country as a advisor, as a investment advisor. Would you invest all your money in Sri Lanka?
Definitely.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rajakaruna, for your thoughts as well. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Kirti Tennakoon, Executive Director of CAFE, for joining us. Thank you very much, Mr. Vidru Vikramnayaka, for joining us from People's Freedom Alliance, as well as Dr. Pratibha Mahanameheva for joining us this evening. Thank you very much, Nadeem. Thank you very much, Sonali. Thank you very much, Charita, for joining us this evening. Fighting corruption is not just good governance. Good governance is all about setting an example. I leave you tonight with a quote from Vladimir Putin. He said, "Those who fight corruption should be clean themselves." Where are we standing now? Some food for thought. Take care and good night.